Now then, knowing that's why we sin, and that's how we sin, how can we use that to be more righteous? Well, there's a few things that come to mind. Number one is expect it. It's going to happen. No matter how good you are, you're going to find circumstances in life in which you're enticed to do something that you know you shouldn't do. And it's going to look good. It wouldn't be an enticement if it didn't look good. I tell people all the time, alcohol is not a problem for me. Because I grew up around too many people that drank, and they were not pretty people when they drank. So I have that etched in my mind early on. That's not something I want. I'm just not attracted to that. On the other hand, there's other issues that I do struggle with. I learned early on that if I'm disrespected, if I feel disrespected, boy, I can overreact in a heartbeat. But you just have to be ready for those things that come. Satan is going to work with that which has worked before. Yeah, this is my opinion, that's what I'm going to say, that Satan is not all-knowing. I know that. He's not all-knowing. And so he doesn't know, just looking at us, how we're going to fail. So what he does, he just pokes and prods and tries different things until something works. Until he hits a nerve and we respond. He tantalizes a desire and we respond to it. Now once we've done that, what do you think the demonic world is going to do? Well, it's going to keep coming back to that. No sense poking around a bunch of other stuff. It might, but it's going to keep coming back to that. That's why when I look at my life, and I'm sure you are the same way, I don't have a lot of sins. I just have the same one over and over. It's not like there's a bunch of things that I fail at. It's just that the ones I fail at, I seem to be kicking myself over and over about. Because they found that weakness. They found that desire that's within us that they can work with. Why do you think, in Matthew chapter 4, remember Jesus is tempted. Why does he tempt him to turn the stones to bread?
He was hungry?
He was hungry. See, so it's obvious. He's hungry. I'll get him to respond to my bidding. And why do you think the idea that him throwing himself off the temple, just to show off, basically. Why would Satan think that it would be tempting to Jesus to show off? Or, he said later, I'll give you all the kingdoms. I'll give you power, political power. Why would that be tempting? Well, think about a boy that's raised up as a peasant in Galilee and is disrespected generally by the Romans, and by the Jews, and by most.
Yeah, by everybody.
By everybody, yeah. See, Satan is looking at that and he says, I bet this is somebody who is vulnerable to this idea that I'm somebody, you can't treat me that way, He said that boy, he said, so he tempts him with proving yourself and showing off and establishing yourself as somebody important. Pride is what he's.
I shouldn't have said everybody, because John the Baptist was not, he didn't disrespect Jesus at all.
No, he didn't. But John grew up in Judean wilderness, so he had some of the same things. Yeah. But the point being is Satan is looking at our circumstances, and that's where he starts poking and prodding till he can find just the right thing to where our temptation comes from. So, one of the ways that we can handle temptation better is to understand ours a little better. The better we understand why something is tempting to us, the better we can handle it. I used to work in a motel in Oklahoma City. And I remember the people coming in, and once again, you got to remember my background. This is not my struggle, so I don't understand it very well. But people that come in off the road, and before they even check in, I remember, because my job was to meet them when they came in the door, and can I help you check in? And constantly you have people, no, first of all, I need a drink. I thought, that's crazy. You know, I always thought that. How did those two go together? But what it had to do with was stress and that sort of thing of driving. And so if you were that person, one of the ways you could overcome your temptation to get a drink is to understand, why do I get so stressed about driving? And why do I think that alcohol is going to relieve my stress? Because alcohol does not relieve stress. It makes you not ignore it for a little bit, but it doesn't relieve any of it. It just adds stresses to life. But if you understand what's going on the inside, why these vulnerable spots are vulnerable for you, the more you understand that, the more you're equipped then to battle it when it shows up. The more you understand about the desire that Satan is exploiting, the better you can handle it. Another thing, remember that temptation is not sin. A lot of people, when they're tempted, they're ashamed, they're embarrassed, they feel guilty, and they hide it. They don't want anybody to know that they struggle with that, because they feel like that means I'm less than what I ought to be. And the answer is no, you're not. No, you're not. Temptation is not sin. Everybody is tempted by something. You just happen to know what yours is. Some people don't even know, never thought about that. So, being able to talk to somebody about that and to be able to own that as being, here's my struggle, it can be hard to do, I guess. But it's powerful when you can do that. It helps you to overcome it. And what do you do when you fall?
How do you get up?
You get up. You get up. And the biblical term is repent. The word repent just means change. Do something different. Understand this process is at work. You have this desire that's within you. And probably a desire that's given a lot of strength because of some way that you've been raised up or something that's in your past. And Satan tests that desire. He entices that desire in someone to do something that you shouldn't do. And then you fail for that. The desire that was now conceived, and it brought forth sin. And sin, if it's nurtured, will bring forth death. So we're not going to nurture the sin. We're going to change something. We're going to change something about how we do something. One guy I remember talking about said, if you're walking down the road and there's a hole and you fall in it, you're walking back from town and you come across the path, there's a hole in the path and you fall in it. What do you do? Next time you go to town, you might walk around the hole.
Go a different way.
But what if you fall in it another time? Take a different route. Do something different. Don't expect that you're going to keep doing the same thing, and somehow this time you're going to be able to withstand it. No, just do something. You need to do something different. And then the last thing I'd point out is work on the inside. Work on the inside. There's a school of thought that says if you can go back to your earliest memories, that you have a very important insight into who you are. If you go back to the earliest thing that you remember, not that somebody's told you about happened, but you remember happening, you'll have a very important insight into who you are. Because your mind remembers certain things based upon your perception of yourself, and that's the way this thinking works. So when you look back at that earliest thing, that part of your heart, I told you, I struggle with this idea that I'm not being respected. My earliest memories, knowing where we lived and different things, I had to have been about 2. And I just remember wandering off from wherever the house was, farther than I probably was supposed to go. And probably at 2 years old, that means, 2 houses down, I don't know. And a bunch of older kids laughing because I was there. And you see, can you make the connection? My mind triggers that. So what do I do with that? Well, one of the things I need that helps is to remember, the Son of God loved me enough to die for me. What kind of importance do I have to God? To the one who knows. Worth dying for, evidently. See, now that helps me. Now I'm nurturing that part of my heart that struggles. I'm nurturing that part that Satan likes to entice. Well, whatever the part of your heart is that Satan likes to entice, work with it. Feed good stuff into it. And then you're better equipped and you're stronger to battle temptations. And once you defeat a temptation, Satan's going to quit, right? No, he's going to go back to that one, or he's going to try another one, but he's not going to quit. We all battle temptations. And the wondrous thing about being a Christian is that's what the cross is about. God loved us enough to provide a defeat for the things that defeat us. Questions or comments?